You are sculpting these little human beings that are going to grow up and be on their own one day. And you want to create the resiliency in them, the confidence in them. All those things together is what's going to help build the best type of person that really feels good about themselves, that has high self-esteem, that brings a lot of value to wherever they go. It's on you first, though, to be the leader. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the From Boys to Men show, brought to you by the Squire Program. I'm your host, Lheyton Cook, and I realized we didn't have an episode where we talked about what makes a good dad, which is crazy. I understand that this is literally what the whole program is about, but we never really focused on it. We never really talked about what are some qualities that actually make a good dad, a great dad, right? And you know, the crazy thing is the bar is so low, guys. It's so easy to be a good dad. And I didn't say good parent. I said be a good dad. I'm going to tell you why. The bar is so low, it's in hell right now, man. Like, it's so easy to be a good dad. You can literally just, take your kids to the park every once in a while, and the somebody will see, you playing with your kids, like, oh, what a good dad. Like, that's awesome. You can take them to the pool, right? You can, take them swimming. You can take them to their class or their sports. Like, I'm the only dad in my daughter's gymnastics class. It's all women there. It's all the moms. Or sometimes maybe you can see me with my two daughters in the grocery cart while I'm going grocery shopping. And like, people are like, wow, you're an awesome dad, man. That's awesome. Like, wow, that's so cool. Bro, that's like basic stuff. And then a mom does it and it's looked at as like, she's doing her job. That's what she should do. Or maybe she'll even be criticized where it's like, why are you doing it like that? I just saw you do whatever. I'm telling you, man, it's so easy to be a good dad. But you shouldn't be shooting to be a good dad. You should be shooting to be an exceptional dad. And so we're going to talk about some things that I feel like dads need to do to show up better for their kids. And number one, I believe, is being active with your kids, being physically active with them. I think this is something that we just do better than moms. There are a lot of things they do better than us when it comes to raising the kids. But one thing that I think we have pretty well, we have it down, is wrestling with our kids, roughhousing with them, throwing them on the bed, just like fighting with them, right? And being rough with them. That's something that they crave, that they love it, right? My daughter, and I can only imagine if she likes it, my son's gonna be even crazier. I'm gonna make him a little freaking demon, right? I'm gonna be fighting him all the time. But I'll throw her on the bed, and my wife's like, don't throw it that hard, like, don't throw it that high up. She's fine, she likes it. And then sure enough, she gets off the bed, she runs back, she's like, okay, do it again. Throw her again, even higher, almost hitting the ceiling. She's going crazy, right? And they love it. They love fighting and playing rough and everything. And so I think that's one of the number one things that dad have a upper hand on. Like, we like doing those kinds of things. And so that's number one. If you're not wrestling with your kids, do that. Actually, at the last Squire class here at our ranch, we had them wrestle in the mud with their dads. And at the end of the day, I asked the kids, like, what was your favorite part? And a lot of the kids said, dude, I loved wrestling with my dad. Like, that was like the best part, fighting with him, seeing if I could take him down, seeing if I could, I could get him down on the ground, right? That was my favorite part. And I'd ask him, okay, was that, I completely understand why that's your favorite part, but was this like your first time fighting with your dad? Like, is this something normal? Or is this like a special occasion? Most of them said, dude, I've never fought with my dad ever. I'm like, ever? Like, not even like they fight every once in a while. Like, no, this is my first time ever wrestling with him or doing that with him. I'm like, what? That's crazy. Like, I obviously didn't get to spend much time with my dad, but when we had conjugal visits, man, we take the mattresses out from the two rooms. There's a 2-bedroom trailer. We take both mattresses out from the bedrooms. We lay all the couch cushions out. We'd make literally the whole floor was mattresses. And it was like WWE. It was like WrestleMania, bro. It was crazy. The whole ladder match. We'd be fighting. I was drop kicking them. We were going crazy, right? Like, you should be doing that with your kids, man. And so that's number one. Number two is you need to be emotionally available for them. And a story I have for this, or the example I have for this, is actually a shortcoming of my own. An example of when I was not the best in this specific area. A couple months ago, I was getting my youngest daughter. We were getting her. She was gonna have her first birthday party, right? She was turning 1 year old, and so it was a big day for us. We're excited to have everybody over our new house for the first time, and we're getting everything ready. Now, my youngest daughter, the one whose birthday it is, she's upstairs taking a nap, and my wife is upstairs getting ready, and then me and my oldest daughter, who's three and a half, she's outside helping me set things up, and she's being my little helper, right? Now, I don't know what happened, but she stops what she's doing. She looks at me and she kind of makes this face like, uh-oh. Like, I thought that something went wrong. I'm like, what happened? Did you go to the bathroom? Are you okay? What's going on, right? And then I'm like, she says she went to the bathroom in her pants, and she's not little like that anymore, so she's not wearing diapers. So I'm thinking like, dude, you peed on yourself? Like, oh, man, so I'm frustrated, right? And so I'm asking, I'm like, why'd you pee in your pants? Or why'd you do whatever in your pants, right? She's like, I don't know. So I'm walking her, I grab her hand to walk her in the house to check her, and she starts freaking out, screaming. And I don't know what's going on. So at this point, I'm like, what the heck? Like, what's wrong with her? Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, is she like an ant, like crawled because she had shorts on? Maybe she's getting bit by an ant, or I don't know what's going on, right? So I rushed her in the house. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And she's screaming at the top of her lungs like I'm hurting her. So it made me feel uncomfortable. I feel like, am I doing something? I'm not doing nothing. I'm grabbing her hand to figure out. So, but I'm getting frustrated. Right now, I'm telling you in this way of like, I can look back in retrospect and be like, that was really confusing. But frustration immediately came because I'm like, why are you screaming like that, right? So she's screaming her head off so loud that my wife was in the shower and she hurries up and puts a towel on, runs downstairs. She's thinking like she hit her head or something. Like, what happened? What happened to her? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, she comes down and asks me what's going on. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why she's acting like this, right? So it made me feel like a bad dad. It made me feel like, did I do something wrong to her? Am I like, did she feel like I was going to spank her or something? Is that why she freaked out? I don't know what happened, but it made me feel like super, super bad. Like I was obviously really mad, but it made me feel really bad. And so, but at that time, of course, anger was like the number one. I was just so upset. Like, why, like, you're making it seem like I'm hurting you, right? When I'm trying to be there for you. And so, I was frustrated. My wife takes her, and the crazy thing was, as soon as my wife grabs onto her, she stops crying. She stops crying. She stops screaming. She takes her upstairs. She's like, you can't do that with your dad. Don't yell with your dad. Like, that's, you're being dramatic. Like, that's wrong. That's not okay. Like, only scream like that when something's really wrong. She's talking her through it, right? And she immediately calms down. So that made me even more mad. I'm like, I was trying to do that with you, but you freaked out immediately. But then that was maybe reflection. I thought about it later on. Maybe that was reflection of, you know, maybe I act in a way where I'm too harsh on her, where she immediately thought I was going to go to spanking her or something, and she started, you know, freaking out, right? So anyways, nonetheless, my wife takes her upstairs. My daughter's calm. She's all fine. I hear them playing around upstairs. And then I hear my wife say, okay, now go downstairs and apologize to your dad because I wasn't cool. So my daughter comes downstairs, and she's like, I'm sorry. And I was so mad. I just stared at, I was like looking at my phone. I just ignored it. Didn't say anything. I was just looking at my phone. In my head, I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to, if I say something, it can either go one or two ways. I'm not trying to make it worse. So I just stared on my phone, didn't say anything. She's just staring at me. And then she walked back upstairs. And then immediately when she walked away, I felt so bad. Like, what an asshole of a dad I am, to where, yeah, she overreacted for sure. That's no question. As far as how she acted was not okay. But she calmed down. She came down and apologized. And in that moment of her apologizing, I wasn't emotionally available for her, where I was like accepting of that. Like, it's okay. You know, hey, moving forward, don't do that because of this, whatever. I ignored it. And I thought about how that could mess her up in the future. And I got really sad, man. I got really sad that I did that, and I handled it in that way. And so I don't want this show to always feel like I'm being the number one dad, the best dad, whatever. I make mistakes too. I make mistakes all the time. I'm still figuring this out. I think we're always going to be figuring things out. We kind of just, you know, as we go. And so that's one way that you shouldn't handle a situation. You should be emotionally available for your kids, show up for them. And that kind of rolls into the next point, which is having better communication. Communicate with your kids, not just communicate with your spouse, communicate with your kids as well. I get it, it's a time and place. Like, you don't need to explain every single thing to your kids all the time. You know, there's a time and a place for it. But still, nonetheless, you need to communicate with them, because if you're telling them not to do something, sometimes for them it doesn't make sense. Matter of fact, most times it doesn't make sense why you're telling them to do something. So explain it to them, and they'll probably have a better time dealing with whatever or doing whatever you're asking them to do, or not doing what you're asking them not to do, if you just communicate with them, explain why, or at least doing your best at explaining why. Sometimes they still won't understand, but regardless, you got to communicate with them, because otherwise you're just you're acting as a dictator, and though they might listen to you because they're physically scared of you, and they're like, my dad said to do this, so I'm going to do it, but they'll have more love for you and more respect for you if you not only tell them what to do, but also tell them why you're looking out for them by telling them to do this thing, or by telling them not to do this thing. So anyways, there's that. Number 4 is build resiliency and confidence in your kids. And another thing that I think dads do amazingly, like we build confidence in our kids where they maybe wouldn't have confidence otherwise. For example, a mom, there's a video of it was a mom and dad. They were with their son, and they were walking across this it's for kids. It's like a toy bridge, like it's at a playground or something like that. And it's like a wobbly kind of looking bridge, where obviously the kid could get hurt if he misstepped or whatever. And it's a pretty little kid. He's not like, 9 or 10, whatever. He looks like he's pretty young. So his little kid walking across this bridge, the dad's right there. If he falls, he can catch him. But the mom's like, no, don't, be careful. Like, make sure you're right there. Okay, maybe like take him down. It's too dangerous. And the dad's like, he's fine. Like, that's kind of how we are. We're just naturally like, cool and calm when it comes to that kind of thing. I'll let him, and if he falls, who cares? Like, that's kind of our character. And so, you want to build confidence in them, let them know that they can do it. So when he gets across the bridge, the kid, steps off the last step of the bridge and he's all excited. He made it and he was accomplished and he did all these, he made it across this giant bridge. To him, probably looked like massive, right? And so that built confidence in him. And also, if he fell, the dad would have done a great job of building resiliency in him and telling him, like, hey, just because you fell, bro, it's all good. Dust yourself off and go back to the beginning and do it again. It's all good. Like, and then we'll high five afterwards. So these are two things that I think dads do really well. Naturally, we're just, I guess, more calm and relaxed of the two parents when it comes to that kind of situation and helping push our kids in that way. And so you definitely want to be the kind of dad that builds resiliency and confidence in your kids for sure. Number 5, and the last one, is be a reliable dad. Be the dad that can be counted on. So if your kids are going through something and they, maybe they don't feel like they can talk to anybody, you should at least they feel like they can talk to, right? Really both you and your spouse, or you and your girlfriend, whoever it is. But you want to be the kind of dad that can be counted on, that can be relied on. If they're going through something, they can talk to you. If they need help physically with something, can you open this for me? Or maybe the kind of the dad that's knowledgeable about a lot of things, not just, 2 or 3 different specific areas, but learn different, random different things. Like, you should learn how to build things and fix things and learn how to help them with their homework and help them with their basketball practice, whatever sport. So while they're learning, you're also learning, so you can help be their coach in these different areas. And that also makes you a reliable dad. When they need help with something, they can go to you and you can help them. And so that means requiring a lot of work on your end, where you're going to have to learn along with them and also be a little bit ahead of them, so that if they have some in-depth questions or deeper questions, that you can still answer those questions and teach them how to get them out of that funk, or out of that little slump, or whatever, that pit that they're in. And so be a reliable dad. Now, one other thing that's important that goes along with that is a book that I may or may not have referenced in past episodes, but it's called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. I can't remember the name of the author, but look that book up. It's awesome if you have daughters. I know we're talking about fathers and sons, but really this is an awesome book if you have daughters. And in the book, it talks about how there's a couple of different stories that these girls share anonymously about their upbringing and why they are the way they are because of their upbringing with their dad, how their dads raised them. And one of them was talking about their dads weren't reliable for them. They weren't there. They couldn't rely on their dad. And that created massive issues throughout their life, because they kind of felt like that was a normal type of relationship. So when they got boyfriends, they looked for boyfriends they're kind of like that. They couldn't rely on their boyfriends. They were, there was a problem when it came to that, but it stemmed from not having a dad that showed up for them in that way. And so you guys got to understand, man, that you are sculpting these little people, these little human beings that are going to grow up and be on their own one day, and they're going to get in the relationships, and they're going to have kids one day, and they're going to own businesses or be employees or whatever, or be in the workspace with other people. And you want to create the resiliency in them, the confidence in them, and also be reliable and emotionally available for them, because that's all those things together is what's going to help build the best type of person, man. The person that really feels good about themselves, that has high self-esteem, that brings a lot of value to wherever they go. And so it's on you first, though, to be the leader. You're the father. You're the head of the house. Actually, not the head of the household. I hate that freaking word. The foundation of the household. You're supposed to set the tone. You're supposed to be the leader in that way. And it starts with you. Obviously, it starts with you. So those are 5 things that I think make a good father, a great father. These are things that are ways you need to show up for your kids. So the solution is not just watching this episode and not implementing any of it. The solution is watching this episode, taking notes. If you do these things, then great, good for you. And if you don't do these things, then take note of which ones that you don't do and start implementing them little by little. Just start being a little bit more, emotionally available for your kids by way of communication, or, be a little bit more like, let them do their own thing sometimes. Start building some resiliency and confidence in them. Like, obviously watch them. Don't just let them, run around doing whatever, but give them a little bit more freedom. Help build that in them. Be a reliable dad. This means showing up for them in different ways. And you guys are going to build an awesome bond. You're going to build memories forever that are going to last forever. And they'll never forget it, man. They'll never forget it. You're going to build some awesome little human beings. So anyways, guys, I hope that this episode brought you value. I love talking about this topic, specifically how to better yourself and how to be a better father to your kids. And so if this brought you any value, if you agree with it, if you don't agree with it, let me know regardless. I appreciate the engagement. We got to get these numbers up, y'all. We got to get these numbers up, man. Engage with your boy. Share this video if it brought you any value. And until then, I'll see you next time. Take it easy.